All right, and welcome back to the channel, everybody. Quancredible here to bring you the review for Black Clover Chapter 261. So, finally, this little introduction part of the intro to the Dark Triad essentially is over, and we're finally getting like some more progression on to what's going on. So the chapter starts off with them inside of Owen's office. Owen, being the mage that they had seen previously to look at Asta's arms, is taking a look at his arm now. And he says that Asta himself, his life is in no danger. So essentially, that I'm taking that as Asta is okay, like he's not seriously injured or anything like that. The only thing is that his arm, it's a total unknown. He doesn't know anything about it, which would kind of make sense, seeing as Owen, is a regular healing mage. Well, not a regular healing mage, but he's a really good healing mage. But it just makes sense that he would not know anything about the contract between the devil and all that. And I doubt Asta would really say anything to him about that. And honestly, even if Asta did say anything, he probably still wouldn't know anything about it. So there's not much more he can do there. As far as the rest of the Black Bulls, they're totally fine. You see that like Finral and Vanessa seem a little bit remorseful about it though, because like they're like, oh, we're only okay just because Asta and Yami protected us. So like they really feel like it's almost like they really feel bad that they couldn't really do much in that kind of fight. And then Gray asks for Owen to take a look at Gauche, and Owen is like, he appears to be like mad shocked, because like he even says that this is like beyond recovery, and suggests that maybe transformation is not the true nature of Gray's magic, which was incredibly interesting to me, because Gray has always been a character that's been surrounded by like lots of mystery. Like we didn't even get her backstory up until recently. And if you go back to her character profile, we don't even know her real name. She's just called Gray. So like, who even knows who Gray actually is? And like, I'm trying to think of what her magic could actually be, because we know right now she can transform herself. She can transform other objects into things, which Gauche even noted that was odd or very different. He never heard of that. And she can transform other people's magics into different things, which again, Gray, or not Gray, but Gauche noted was odd, and that he's never heard of anything like that. And she can we now know, I guess, transform things into tissue, or at least have some form of healing ability, like transforming a wound to close or anything along those lines. So, as for what her magic could possibly be, so we almost have to look at something past transformation, which the only like one of the things that I thought of was like transfigure or like transfiguration, which is like to change something into something more beautiful. So like it's very similar to transformation, but like it's a bit like open. It's a more open field on that. It could explain why she can transform into other people, because maybe she already doesn't like herself, so she could feel transforming into anybody else is better than herself. And then the things that she's transformed so far, in terms of magic, which would be like that weird gel into vines. You could see vines being a lot, beautiful, or a lot less creepy than gel. Same thing with poison into cotton, or the stone of the Black Bull base into mirror. So far she hasn't done any like crazy transformations, but like you could argue that what she has transformed things into were better or more appealing than what they previously were. That's all I'm saying. But enough about Gray. We go back to it's nighttime, because this all happened early today, and Asta's laying in his bed, and he like he like, you can really feel for Asta's character, because he's restless. Like all this stuff just happened earlier today, so he definitely can't sleep. He opens up his grimoire, and like Yami's sword like just like comes out of it. And again, I said this last chapter, and I want to say I even said this in the review for 2 chapters ago. I said that Yami's katana was going to go inside of Asta's grimoire. So it definitely is. I already knew that Yami's not getting that katana back. That katana is 100% Asta's now. But anyway, Asta just like, he like runs out of the building he's in, and he's like, at first when I was first reading it, I didn't know what he was doing. Like I was like, well, what is he doing? Like I had not the slightest idea. But then like when this other guy pops up and stops him, and it's like, where are you going? Like, are you about to go try to like take Yami back or something? And it's like, that is such a dumb idea on like Asta's part. Like I get it, he's really riled up right now, but it's even like the other guy said, you couldn't even do anything against one of them. So what do you what do you think you're going to be able to do if you even go there? It just seemed like It's like, come on, Asta. It's like, I know you're upset, but it's like you, you can't just do dumb stuff along those lines. But anyway, when he was running out, that mysterious figure that we seen previously, like a lot of chapters ago, appeared behind him, and Asta couldn't move. And it goes along the lines with this guy's like shadow-ish magic. Like I'm pretty sure us as a community are assuming that it's shadow magic. And like the thing that makes this really cool is if I back up, like if you see this panel right here, like the panel of Asta running out, there's like the building, and it's like Asta's running out of it, but the shadow is cast like back, so it's like Asta is in the shadow of the building. So it's like, of course, at the moment we truly don't know anything about this guy's magic. Or it sounds like this guy's magic could possibly be more powerful inside of pre-existing shadows than just shadows he just has to make himself. It's just, a little something that I thought was cool. Like, I don't know if it was intentional on Tabata's part to show that, or if it was just he just drew it that way. But anyway, this guy is telling Asta to just leave Yami. If he lost, he's just an idiot, like really, like stuff, like the stuff he said probably wouldn't make Asta feel better, because Asta's like, you don't even know anything about Yami, and he's like, nah, I know Yami. He's irresponsible, he's unfaithful, he's violent, he's a savage, like kind of going in on Yami's character. But all the stuff he was saying wasn't necessarily not true, because Yami is very violent, he is kind of a savage, he is irresponsible, like he's not really missing on any of these. So that moment that Asta gets like upset, and he like calls for the demon destroyer sword to come down on the shadows and like almost like release him, which is really cool, because again, this interaction may seem really, really small and like insignificant to a lot of people, but when you look at it, Asta was able to call his sword out and then have it like do something. And then the fact that he called the demon destroyer sword, the one that can absorb effects. Like, we know this sword can absorb effects, but we see that he actually made it come down and strike the ground, which means that either A, Asta can't use the effect of negating things without actually physically holding it, like actually negating passive magic effects in the area without physically holding it, or two, it could mean that the shadow magic effect that is binding Asta is one of those effects that you really can't be negated, since we know it severs the relationship between cause and effect. Magic, so like say a magic poison somebody, he can undo the poison, or someone got reincarnated inside a body, he can undo that. Like, we kind of know what the sword can already do, so we can possibly assume that the shadow magic binding people does not fall into that category. And the and another thing that was really interesting is it didn't really look like the sword actually hit his shadows. It looked like he actually just moved the shadows away. Like, it looks, because how clean the circle is, it just looks like he just moved the shadows out of the way, and then Asta was able to free himself. And then again, Asta calls out his demon dweller sword and goes to actually strike the guy, but he like makes all these shadow hands come out and like binds Asta down to the ground. Which, again, to note, his demon dweller sword is legit on the ground on the shadow. So this is just another time that we can see Asta's swords actually touching magic. Is like, his swords are anti-magic, but again, they're probably not as anti-magic as a lot of people give them credit for. There's definitely like levels to it, more than likely. And also, this guy is probably pretty tough to hold down Asta. Granted, Asta is like mentally unstable right now. He just had a huge fight earlier, so he's definitely weak. He's definitely like weaker than he would normally be, but still, he's at least hold him down, which is pretty impressive in my opinion. And then to really like drive his point home, he even says like, a human that can't defeat him has no hope of beating them, which is, is very true. If Asta can't handle this guy, then he probably can't beat him. It's also kind of like we don't really have an idea of how strong he is. We have like not really an idea, but the way he says this, it definitely alludes to the fact that he is weaker than the Dark Triad, or at least not even on their level, which, I mean, a lot of people could have probably assumed, but then there's probably going to be those people out there that wonder if he could beat them, so I just wanted to touch on that also. But anyway, it's at this point that he like formally introduces himself as Natch, the vice captain of the Black Bulls. And this right here, we see that his grimoire doesn't have a symbol on it, which is really odd because Tabata is really, really good with his grimoires. Like if you go back, even random fodder mages, he always goes through and does like a little design and make sure to put their symbol on there. So his symbol not being on his grimoire is either one, he just doesn't have one on his grimoire and he got it from somewhere else, which would be crazy, or two, which I think is the more likely one, is Tabata is just choosing not to show us what it is at this moment because it could be more important to the plot later. That's kind of what I think it is, because it just, for him to just have not a symbol in there, that would just be kind of weird. I mean, it is very possible, but I just think it would be odd. It would just be very odd. I just like it that it might be a personal choice from Tabata, then he just wants to show us later. I mean, whichever one it turns out to be, I'm not going to be like too hurt either way, but that's just what I think. Yeah, so Natch says he's the vice captain of the Black Bulls and that he is going to teach Asta about his devil power, which is funny because I noticed that a lot of people in the community, or not a lot of people, but some people, just some, a small group, were upset that Asta is not the only devil user in the like in the story or something. Like I'm very confused because the Dark Triad is also devil users. Maybe they're upset that Asta isn't the only devil user in the Clover Kingdom, but at the same time I don't really see like what the issue is, because like one of my main issues for Asta and getting stronger, because obviously he's going to have to train to fight against Dante. It's like we're going to get another training-esque arc. One of my issues was like no one can teach Asta about his powers. Like he is alone in trying to figure out how his abilities work, which I mean is cool in a sense, but it's like this is a shonen at the end of the day, so typically the main character has a mentor of some sort that can teach them things. So for like, I was just wondering when is Asta's possible mentor going to come into play. Granted, you could call Fenzel a mentor, but it's like we didn't really get to see a lot of him in the manga. A lot of it is just implied, and then we got that small 1 or 2 episodes in the anime. And then you could kind of say Yami, but Yami's more of like a leader than a mentor to Asta, at least in my opinion. He's not like, it's not like he's out there really teaching Asta some like sword techniques or really explaining to him how to use his powers, because it's not like Yami knows how his abilities work. With this guy Natch, at least he is also possessed, so he can at least explain Asta some of the universal basics, which is going to be very useful for him later. So I think it's cool that we're finally getting this kind of mentor role possibly filled in the shonen that is Black Clover. From there, his like it looks like he can manifest his devil or something, because it's like it's on his shoulder. So that's like really confusing as to like how that even works, because it's definitely the smallest one that we've seen so far, assuming that is its actual form. It's much smaller than Xenon's, Asta's, and Lucifer, because like when we see like them inside, it's like much bigger than they are. I'm very interested to see like next week exactly what that is about. Hopefully, I really do hope that they stay here for next week, like they don't go somewhere else. I mean, granted, I am still extremely curious to know how all the explosions in the Heart Kingdom turned out, but I just want a little bit more on Natch before we go over there. Like we can just get one more chapter on Natch, even if the Heart Kingdom stuff leads over back to Natch, I'd be okay with that too. I don't know, maybe even Natch possibly went to the Heart Kingdom and saved them first and then came to the Clover Kingdom. I mean, that would kind of be a lot. Like his magic would have to be crazy if he was able to do all of that, but it's just a possibility. So yeah, so let me know down below what you guys think of the chapter. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was like a really solid chapter, like a solid 8 out of 10. This was like a definite progression. We're like moving forward. I enjoyed this one a lot. Like I said, let me know how you guys feel about it down below. Let me know how you guys feel about Natch, the vice captain of the Black Bulls. Let me know how you guys feel about his shadow magic. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen next. Do you think we're going to go to the Heart Kingdom next, or do you think we're going to stay here with Natch? I mean, that's kind of the only 2 places we can really go. I mean, they did mention they're going to have a captain's meeting, but I don't know if they're going to fast forward in time that much with all the like pressing issues that are still going on, like the Heart Kingdom, like Natch, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if Tobias is just necessarily going to skip straight to that, but let me know how you guys feel about all that stuff. Make sure you guys like and sub to the channel and like the video. I always appreciate all that support. I'm Quancredible, and I'll catch you guys next time.